What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. And this time we got round 3 with Chris of the Atomic Bitchwax. Great to talk to you again.
You too, man.
Yeah.
Hope you're being safe, right?
Being as safe as I possibly can. There's not much else to do. But it's great to talk to you again. For one, being that we spoke before the world came to an end, this is sort of like a good way to remind ourselves of the better days, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, they'll be back again. I think it's just the waiting game now.
I know, but we're in New York. We don't have much patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and the rest of the Weed Eater tour got canceled, or was that finished before all this happened?
No, it ended up, we still had almost another 2 weeks to go, but by the time the tour got to Chicago, that's when they were starting to do the shutdown, and certain clubs were already canceling. So, let's just say that there was another, dozen shows left out of that tour.
Wow.
Say like six of the clubs were shutting down before we even got there.
Oh, wow.
And so it didn't make any sense to do the rest of the distances between the cities were just way, way too far. It wasn't like you were hopping from one city to the next. Now you're skipping over entire states to get to a club. And it was just like, this isn't worth it at all. You know what I mean? We're not going to make any money, and the turnouts are going to suck anyway.
Yeah.
And so we just figured, well, all right, we'll make the last show, and it was a nice full house, and we're like, let's just end the tour like this. And Chicago's not that far away from New Jersey. I mean, but it's better than being in like LA or something and having to turn around and go home.
Yeah, there was one band that actually they flew to New York. They flew to the East Coast from Finland, and they were supposed to play in New York. The shutdown happened on that day. They played one show and then had to fly back home to Europe.
Oh, it's brutal.
That's the worst. But on a more positive note, at least we have some new Atomic Bitchwax coming. Scorpio is scheduled for the release on the 28th of August. Could the first singles that you released off of this album, such as Scorpio or You Got It, like almost serve as like a clear representation of what this album is going to sound like, or is this just the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rock record for sure, and maybe people that have been into the band are gonna hear the difference in guitar playing, because this is Garrett's first outing on an album. So every guitar player always brings his own flavor into the whole thing too. And I think he nailed it. He's fucking amazing, that guy.
Yeah.
So
you answered my next question, actually, because bringing Garrett into the band, like, did he have to maybe adjust his style in order to fit the Atomic Bitchwax, or did you kind of wanted to bring his own mix into the band?
I guess a couple things. One was, because I've been playing in Magnet with him and Bob for like 7 years, so we've already been playing together for years in a different band. So the transition from going, and I guess although we don't sound like Magnet, I guess the one thing we do have in common is we're both rock bands, and that's right up Garrett's alley. So I mean, he came in, and it's not as constrained, I guess, as Magnet, to where Dave is very particular on what he wants, and how as far as the guitar playing goes, of like what he wants for leads, and try it like this, play this, more like this. And where with Bitchwax, I just say, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's it's your thing. Here's the song, but when it comes to playing lead, I don't tell them to play anything. I just tell them to do your thing.
So could Scorpio, being that it is kind of like in a way like a new start for Bitchwax, do you almost feel like this doesn't have any relationship to Force Field or Gravitron or the Local Fuzz or anything else?
No, I think it's on par with Gravitron and Force Field. It's sort of like, I think it only took 20 years to find the sound that worked for us, and we have this formula now to where everything, it's very stripped down, I guess you could say. It's rather than like really beating the song to death, will let's say the last 3 records each have 10 songs on each of those records, but we wrote 30 songs and then picked the 10 best ones. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So there's so many throwaways to where, like, we'll kick around a song for a day or two and be like, not that one, and then just shit can it and never play it again.
You ever worried that the songs you leave out of the record are going to be a B-side, Wendy, and just be the biggest hit you ever had?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I do keep everything, so maybe one day down the road I might put something together.
Your diehard fans are going to be like seething right now, wondering what those tracks are going to be like. Or they're probably going to be a bonus track in Japan or Best Buy or something, right?
I know, right? Or I've kicked around the idea of just putting them up for free on a website somewhere, for any like real fan, because it's not like they're produced really well or anything. They're just they're roughs or demos of songs that never made it to a record.
Yeah, you'd just be like, if somebody wants a bonus track, you'd be like, well, there you go. There's your bonus tracks.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed that there was like many different vibes throughout this album. Like I thought Supersonic had a really different vibe from a song like Scorpio or Ninja or Energy or Instant Death. Is it fair to say that there was maybe different emotions going on with the making of this, or many different like vibes going on within you guys?
Well, I think musically everything is pretty cohesive. Everything that might be different than is vocals, to where I did it was kind of like a trick that Windorf does in Magnet, to where he takes on a persona for that particular song. You know what I mean? To where either screaming it or he's softly singing it, or you know what I mean, like, but there's like there's this different, you're singing for the song rather than trying to force something into it. You're like, all right, this is a screamer, and something like Supersonic, like, dude, that's like way at the top of my range, you know what I mean, to where I could never sing a whole record in that register, you know what I mean? So it's I guess you could say, this is record's more diverse vocally, but not necessarily musically. I think the music is from one song to the next. You could tell it's still Bitchwax.
Yeah. Was there a preconceived idea at all with the making of it, or was there maybe like a lot of improvising?
Well, we work really quick, and we started writing it last year, like maybe at the end of the summer, and we would get together maybe 3 or 4 nights a week, and I'd work up some kind of like rough idea of a song at home, and then record it with a drum machine or something like that, and then bring it to practice and go, okay, here's like the rough idea. I have a verse and chorus and a bridge or an intro or something like that. So we'll just for the sake of playing it, we'll just put those 3 or 4 parts in a row and just play them round and around and around over and over again for 10 minutes and see what's cohesive about it. And lyrics usually aren't written yet, so we'll have an open mic in the room and I'll just scream stuff, like, oh, maybe I'll say something like this around here or something like that, and then we'll arrange the song. And we do this all in 1 or 2 days for one song, and then just record it and shelve it, and then move on to the next one. And so that's how we get up to this. It's like 20, 30 songs for a record, and then just pick the 10 best ones at the end. Then when we're all done, we'll sit down and we'll go, okay, this one, no, not that one. You know what I mean, like that.
Yeah. Do you find it like it's cool that you work quick? Because I always have this discussion with other artists where, like, if you're working on something for too long, it kind of kills the momentum a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. It's like we call it polishing a turd. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not grabbing you right away, it's probably not good. You know what I mean? If you really got to beat it to death to wring a tune out of it, it's probably probably not one of your stronger songs. Usually the best songs are the simplest and the most quickly written.
Yeah. Welcome to the Jungle was written in 3 hours, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but like some could argue that like you need, aren't you also worried that sometimes things could be rushed too?
The only time I ever feel rushed is when, like, let's say we have our 10 songs and now we're going to go to a recording studio. That's the only time that I feel a little rushed, because you're on a time constraint. Time is money when you're in the studio, and you want to get the most bang for your buck too. So it's got to be super rehearsed. Wasting time dicking around in the studio, like relearn a song, or playing a thing, because sometimes the demo better than the recording that you do at the regular studio, because something happens, some magic happens when the song's brand new and fresh. When you try to do the studio, it doesn't have that same kind of magic happening.
Yeah. I almost feel like the studio is, some artists, it seems like with the studio, some artists either love the studio or they dread going there every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I don't care for the studio is, like, because you're watching the clock the whole time. When you're trying to create something, that's the last thing you want is a time constraint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all in the same breath, having a deadline makes you move forward and not sweat the little thing. Oh man, that little guitar part right there. You mean maybe you should do it over? And then you waste another half an hour for 3 seconds of music, or you could just move on. You know what I mean? And just like let it be what it is. And all the older records from the '70s and stuff. If you listen to old Sabbath records, just mistakes all over them, and they just left them.
Yeah. I mean? I'm starting to think that if you're in a progressive metal band where you have like 10 songs on the album, each being 20 minutes, you you definitely took out a loan or something like that for studio time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not saying this first record, that was like one of those, recorded in 3 days record. But yeah, I mean, through the '70s and the '80s, when the recording budgets got huge and bands were taking like 4 or 5 months to record a record, you know what I mean? Because there was a budget there to where they could actually go to the studio and write the song while they were there. And for a band my size, on an independent label, you don't have that luxury. You get a decent budget, but you want to max out as much as you can out of it. Yeah. So you try to do all the pre-production out of the studio. You know what I mean? You do everything at rehearsal and, do your own demos and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, is it almost similar into a live show as well? Because the 2 times I saw you on the Black Label Society and the Weed Eater tours, you guys were the opening slot. So, like, do you almost feel like that time restraint kind of applies to the live setting as well?
What do you mean? Like,
in terms of time, like you have to bang out the songs as quick as possible and everything?
I like the either the opening slot or the middle slot, just because you could play, you could do your greatest hits, best of, and usually you get 40 minutes, say for an opening slot, something like that, and I think we got enough material to last a couple hours that we could keep going, but I think having that 40 minutes and you just you take all your best, you know what I mean, you squeeze that into 40 minutes, and people can see that, like, there's not a lot of filler here. This is all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So headlining a show where they expect you to play for 90 minutes, 100 minutes, something like that, you might have to start dipping into the B-side bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they always say the deep cut. When the deep cut comes, that's when people go to the bar.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so I think the way that we've been doing it the last few years, it's intentional too. Like we've definitely been offered headlining stuff, but it's just like let's just open for a band that's bigger than ours, and we'll play our our short, tight, good set, and it's it makes so much more sense, you know what I mean? Because you're playing in front of a larger crowd, you sell way more merch, you're playing to an audience that would have not necessarily have ever heard of you before, or maybe they heard of you, but they're not gonna go see you, headlining a show, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially, like in the States when you get into the Midwest and stuff. If you haven't made your bones yet, you're going to be playing to an empty room.
Yeah. But actually, I was having a discussion about this with a lot of bands about playing live versus recording. Is there something creative about playing live, though? Like, or being that you're just executing the material that people are hearing on the album, it's really not that creative?
Well, I guess I wouldn't use the word creative so much. I mean, I guess, every night is different. But, you're playing the same set, and as the tour progresses, the band is tighter and better, and a lot of times the songs start getting faster because you're becoming more and more proficient at playing them, and if the drummer starts to lean into it, you got to be able to keep up, and then I think our whole sound is that, like, you're teetering on the edge of, fucking the whole thing up. And that's the pocket where we try to stay, like, oh man, it's going to fall apart, but it doesn't fall apart. And so that's the sound that we're going for, like, just to kind of be on the edge and not just play the songs by the numbers. You know what I mean?
There you go. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. Great to talk to you again. Is there just anything, obviously no thanks to a certain virus that I'm not naming on my outlet. Obviously live shows are not happening for the time being, but Scorpio's coming out on the 28th. I'd imagine once shows do return, we'll be seeing you guys on the road quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah, right. We're just playing the waiting game, man. You know what I mean? I figure by the time this, the cure comes out, end of the year or next year, by the time everybody, gets inoculated or whatever they do, we're probably looking at like a year. So my fingers are crossed for, next summer we're going to, head out full bore,
Awesome. You just led me to the next idea. The first tour that everybody needs to see, The Cure needs to do a full world headlining tour. That would be the best thing.
Yeah.
Just with the title and everything, The Cure. Please do a tour at the end of the year.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That would be. I love that band too. That would be great.
I love The Cure. But thank you so much, Chris. Everybody, we are here with Chris of the Atomic Bitchwax, Scorpio, coming out via TP Records on August 28th. Be sure to pick it up then. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.